Hey guys, my name's Liana Ruppert. I am a community manager over at Bungie for Destiny 2. But that's not what this channel's about, which I say every video, because I'm not going to put my foot in my mouth and get something spun up because I said something stupid, because we all know my ass says something stupid all the time. It's what I do. It's what I live for. Switching gears a little bit, I know usually I'm either talking about the one thing I always get asked a lot is, when are you going to write a book about your life? And the funny thing is I actually been approached a couple of times because it's not because I'm like, oh, look how cool I am. It's because I have weird shit that goes on. If something weird is going to happen, it's going to happen to me. And it's so funny when I meet new people, they don't believe me when I say that. I think I'm exaggerating or trying to seem cool or whatever until they actually hang out with me. And it usually takes about 1 or 2 times to hang out before something happens. I remember my partner thought I was exaggerating a lot until he stayed the weekend with me one night, or one weekend, I guess, one weekend, one night. Back when we first started dating and we were living in Virginia, and like the very next day, my neighbor tried to crawl in through my window with a butcher knife saying he was going to kill me. And then she looked at me and was like, yeah, I believe you now. But like, I'm from New Orleans, so very like weird stories there, including the time I accidentally couch surfed on a serial killer's couch, which that was awkward. And I found out many years later, which, bright side though, I found out that the reason I was totally safe is he has like a code for not hurting women or girls, because at that time I was a minor. So yay, me, I guess. Regardless, I was meeting up with a friend the other day, and she is very much like on her spiritual journey right now, and she's it was amazing to see. I love seeing people find new aspects of themselves that they love and want to nourish, and I think I want to support other people that do that kind of journey as well. For me, like I've always been very spiritual, not religious, spiritual. My mom, as horrible as she was, the one thing she was really good at is making sure I was diversified in my worldview. When I was a kid, we lived in Trinidad and Tobago. We lived in a Hindu temple because I grew up Hindu. And yeah, it's, you know, when I was 13, I expressed just a passing interest, and I heard about Satanism today. What is that? And I thought it was about Satan, because the name, but and without even thinking, she got me the Satanic Bible so I could do my own research versus just hear it from her, which I valued. I think that's really cool, and that's how knowledge should be shared, unless, you know, additional context is needed. But I knew if I needed extra context, I could get it. That has always been my thing. You know, I do a lot of spiritual work myself. I think it also coincides with therapy, because once you've seen enough shit, once you've been through enough shit, you need the help. You need the nurturing. You need to nurture your mind and your spirit. But I was recently sharing with her like how I just kind of went back to Hinduism in the last couple of months. The last couple of months was really, for the last couple of months, I've been going back to Hinduism, which is one of the first religions or spirituality paths that I explored when I was a kid. And just for some reason, I kept feeling pulled back to it, and I couldn't figure out why. And so before, I was on the more masculine path, and my deities, the people that I devoted myself to, were Ganesha and Krishna. And I have still all my statues, and I have my little altar, but I kept feeling the call for it. And it was like everything I did was just infused with those memories. Like all I could eat for a week was Indian food. Like, because I wanted to have the food that I loved as a kid. And I didn't even realize it until a friend pointed it out, because that we share our Spotify lists together. And she's like, bro, are you like good? It's like, all your stuff is like Indian temple music. Like, are you good? And I'm like, yeah, it's peaceful, and it puts me in the right headspace where I feel a little bit more connected to myself, which is nice. I feel like that's needed, especially in this day and age of information overload. But when I was kind of exploring, I was like, well, you know, my previous path isn't really, it doesn't feel like it fits, you know? I don't know if that makes sense, but there was just something about it that was just left to center enough to kind of drive me nuts. So I started doing a little bit more research, because when I was Hindu the first time, I was too young to really do that research. I was 5. And I didn't know there were different religions under that umbrella, and different, not religions, but I guess different sects under that umbrella. And when I started learning about Shaktiism, which is the path that devotes itself to feminine energy, because that is, Hinduism is the energy. It's the masculine, the feminine, the duality, the complementation. It's beautiful, and it's beautiful because that energy, that energetic philosophy is the basis of most religions, but that's left out of the conversation a lot. And I was just like, man, ever since I was in the military, but I would even argue, like, even before that, I just felt really disconnected from my feminine energy. That doesn't mean feeling like a woman or feeling like a male or whatever, but I felt so disconnected from that feminine side of my energy for so long because I've had to be in these more masculine perceived roles, if you want to go by that kind of stuff. But I've always had to be the caregiver. I always had to be the survivor. I always had to be the decision maker. And I always had, there was all of these expectations constantly on me. I always had to be tough, especially when I was active duty. And when you put a 5'4" me in charge of a big old group of dudes that don't want to listen to shit, you have to learn very quickly how to, one, harden yourself without softening your heart, or without hardening your heart. That's important. But while also projecting myself to be a little bit more intimidating than maybe I really am. And that had me like harnessing that masculine energy. And we were talking about that, and I was kind of discussing like what was kind of leading me back to there, and what I was really enjoying about learning about Shaktiism. And I was kind of unwinding history a little bit to kind of go into what that experience was like the first time and what I'm hoping to get out of it this time. And I was sharing stories of going to temple with our Swamiji, and I will go ahead and put a picture right here. I love him. I don't think there was ever a person I've ever loved more in my life than this person. Oh, and you're going to hear my dog growling here in about 2 seconds. Sorry in advance. But I was sharing all of this information and sharing pictures and sharing stories. And she was like, girl, you gotta make a video about that. Cause like, it's such a sweet memory. And so this is my memory, my favorite memories of Swamiji. And keep in mind that I'm going to say things wrong because these memories I'm talking about are from when I was a child. So like, I'm going to say it from that perspective. So I'm going to say like his disciples, his friends, when it's his entourage. It's the part as the people devoted to him, and aid in his projection of divinity. But you're not really supposed to do a lot with them. Like you there's a connection, there's a sweetness, but you're not supposed to, you're not gonna be like, yo, what's up, bro? What's going on? And you're certainly not supposed to just like run up and hug them. And that's what I did. And I just had a very unique relationship with this person, this guru, this teacher. And it was the only time I ever felt special. And it's honestly the only time in my life I've ever felt valued for just being me and not a product or a means to get money or a punching bag. And I also might tear up because I really loved this person. So we would go to these temples, and we would do our offerings to the god, and we would get our I don't know what they were called, but they were beautiful. They were like these long like sleeves that had little plastic inserts, and you could put coins in, and we would do that and garlands. And then you would just go sit and meditate, and you would all meditate together. You would synergize that energy together to reattune with the divine. And we were in the very back, and there's no way, I don't think he could have seen us. I mean, there was a lot of people in that temple, a lot. We were very, very, very far back. But all of a sudden he stopped. They were, doing their music. They were expressing themselves. And he stopped, and he seemed to look right at me. And then he did look right at me. And he got off the stage. His people followed him. Didn't know what the hell he was doing. They didn't. I didn't. None of us knew. I was with my mom, obviously, because I was a kid, but my mom and I do not have a good relationship. And it was, she scared me a lot. And I think he knew it. So he pulls me in, and he goes like this. And then his person like translates of come in the back. And so they take me into this back room, and I get to be there without my mom. My mom did go, but there was a moment where I got to be without her, and I could just be in the moment. He gave a prayer over me, I think. I don't remember what it was, and I didn't get any translations or anything. And again, this was 30 years ago, so what up? I felt good. I felt safe, and I could feel the bruises on me fade, even though obviously that didn't happen, but it was a feeling. It was just a feeling of lightness and a feeling of just complete love. And then I don't know what the stone is, and I don't have it because my mom has it. She took it, and she won't give it to me, but it's this beautiful orange stone that literally you don't even have to move it. It looked animated, and it was surrounded in gold. And if it catches light, it literally looks like you're holding a flame. Like, it was so beautiful. And he gave it to me, and he told me that that was what I needed to wear, to remind myself that I was a child of the gods, and that I should honor myself in that way, and feel loved, and feel the touch of being chosen, and being free with my energy, because I was still a child. And it was really beautiful. And I remember just feeling really thankful. And then not long after that, we ended up going to one thing about our Swamiji was he world renowned. He's world renowned from India. In India, he made beautiful music. He traveled all over the world. He's got temples everywhere: Chicago, Baton Rouge, Germany, like everywhere, because he also does a lot of good. He's like, I want us to come together and do good in the world. And that included helping orphanages, helping disaster relief. I remember when I was a kid, I was like, when we were in Trinidad, I was like, I don't have anything to do. I'm too young. And he said, play with the kids, the orphans that we were helping. It's like, they need a friend. And he invited everyone to his temple to worship, regardless of your denomination. Like, we had people from the Vatican. Religions of all type would gather, because the point is energy, not necessarily specifics of the human interpretation. It's specific to just energy, which is something that connects us all. And I would play with them and eat. I don't know how I'm not like 1,000 pounds, because I literally all I ate was hush puppies. It was delicious. But I remember I loved that. We lived in the temple with a bunch of people, and we had like rows of beds with bug nets and mosquito nets and everything. It was fun. And then I remember we went on a glass boat to we flew to Trinidad. No, we flew to Tobago. Liana, you should have prepared for this video before you started recording, because now I don't know. Regardless, one of those. And then we went on a glass boat so you could see the bottom of it, which was really cool. Saw so many sharks. Holy shit. I'm so scared of oceans now, y'all. Like, holy shit. But I don't even know. I don't know what the purpose was. Like, I'm sure there was one, because there were all the high level people in the temple, and he was there, and maybe it was a get together just to be like, good job, or I don't know. I don't know. I was too young to know that connotation, and I can't ask my mom. But I remember at one point we were like in the middle of the ocean, but there was a random sandbar, and so they were like, swim, and so we all got out and we were swimming, but like we're still in the middle of the ocean, and I just got done seeing a shit ton of sharks, so I was a little scared as a wee child. And I remember, this is when I learned that you're not supposed to touch, and I got scared, and so I started swimming my little butt off towards Swamiji, because he was the only person I felt safe with. And I remember somebody trying to stop me, and he like put his hand out like, no, let her come to me. And he opened up his arms, and he just let me like crash into him. And one thing I loved about him is he's this very spiritual figure that seems unreachable at times, but he had the sweetest giggle that reminded me of like the most joyful kid ever. It was very youthful. It was very genuine. And he was giggling because I started laughing, because I was like, oh, I'm safe now. I'm good. I can actually enjoy the ocean now. And then when I would laugh, he would giggle. And I wish I had the pictures, because there's pictures of that, and there's pictures of the glass boat, but I don't think I would ever be able to get them now. But I remember, I don't know if I'll ever feel that level of peace again. It's really hard to describe, but I had a very good relationship with our Swamiji, and I had a very good relationship with that entire part of my life, despite certain things. And I feel like that might be a part of the reason why I'm feeling drawn back to it, because we were thinking about everything, because I am a shit poster. Let me get this really straight. Like, I am a shit poster. I do it for the meme. You should see my Monday morning presentations at work. Like, everybody's looks so professional, and mine's like meme. And, like, it's all just a slideshow of memes with like information peppered in. Whatever. But when you get me on the topic of spirituality or philosophy, that's when I go into kind of that other side of my personality where there's a devotion and dedication to exploring more that's in me that comes out, and you can hear it. And so we were obviously diving deep into like what would make now right. And I'm going through a lot of personal things that are not related to my job at all. My personal life is getting completely uprooted in a lot of ways, and some ways are beyond my control. And I've just been feeling not loved, not cherished as a person. And this kind of helped connect some dots with some other things too. It's why I'm really bad about answering texts or messages, because I'm so used to people only reaching out if they need something, that in this current part of my life where I am very overwhelmed and I have a lot of shit to carry, that I can't really handle anything more. But when I've tried to express that, I've lost friendships that mattered a lot to me. And so I'm scared to lose those friendships. So then I'm like, well, I just won't respond, which obviously is not the solution. But, and sometimes I can a couple of weeks later. Sometimes I can right then. But like, I'm getting better at it. I'm actively working on it. But I mean, there's times where I would just kind of disappear for like a year at a time. Remind me to tell you about the time I just fucked off to Europe for almost a year because I was bored. And so I sold everything and went with my friend, and we just la-di-da everywhere with no money and no plan. But that's what I like to do. That's life. Life is supposed to be experienced, and experienced beyond a professional sense, like experienced for you. Not work trips and stuff are great, but those don't count. You got to do stuff for you and your spirit and your mind. But I was thinking back to that. I'm like, I don't remember the last time I wasn't treated like a product. Bungie, I definitely don't feel that way, but I worry other people still feel that way. Sometimes people won't like you, that don't know you. And I get along too well with my coworkers. Let me say that. We are a very fun bunch, but people that don't know me or I haven't worked with, have kind of this preconceived notion, I think. And that's everywhere. That's not just work. That's everywhere. It's when I meet people for the first time, because I'm with a friend or whatever. I think people kind of have this built up idea of how I should be. So when I'm not that way, I'm just a disappointment. Having that connection back to the time where I felt cherished for me and I felt loved for me, I think that's a big reason why I got pulled back. So here's the part where I talk about something that you are not going to believe. Like, maybe 2 of you will believe me, and that's okay. That's okay. You don't have to believe me, but I would love to share if you're open to it. So I'm hoping if you're still here, that means you're open to it. So we were talking, and she's been on this really, like I said, her on this really amazing spiritual path herself. And she's been diving into tarot, and she even made her own deck where it was word association. And how accurate it was fucking wild, including like very specifics, like Ireland. We were just talking about possibly moving to Ireland 2 days before this. Like, it was very specific. But she's been really trying to work on, oh, and this is another thing. If you know me, you've probably seen the videos, but I very much am a believer in ghosts, because you cannot live in New Orleans and not believe, because so much weird shit happens there, y'all. Like, weird shit happens. So like, I believe in this shit. So, and I believe her. She's a lot like me, where she is honest to a fault, which always gets us in tricky situations, because you can expect honesty from us, but sometimes people that say they want honesty don't actually want honesty. And I know you know what that's like, but she couldn't lie if she wanted to. So I trust her. But she kept, a couple times throughout the entire time we were hanging out, we went to lunch and then we went back to her place. But at lunch, she was like, man, I feel like there's somebody with you. But then she didn't elaborate and like didn't even seem to register that she said that. And then we went back to her house, and she was doing my reading. She's like, I'm sorry, I feel like somebody's like putting their hand on my shoulder and telling me to stop. And she kind of like froze and started like trying to explore. I keep saying like, sorry. She was trying to explore what that feeling was. Is it an actual person, like spirit? Is it just an energy? Sasha, you don't need to lick your butt behind me, sweetheart. I love you, baby girl. She was like, I keep feeling something. And she's like, I have this like really bad neck pain. And I was like, is it right here? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, I've had that for like the last 3 days. Like, it's excruciating to the point where I basically drugged the hell out of myself the other day just so I could sleep. Sasha, we don't need the whining. Oh, hey, vocal cords, what's up? And she goes, and how's your anxiety? Because I've been having really bad anxiety where it literally, I've gone to the hospital thinking I was having a heart attack because it just hurts. It hurts. It's a physical pain. And she's like, has your anxiety been worse the last couple of days? And I was like, well, yeah. But I was like, but that's to be expected with what's going on. And she goes, no, Sasha, come on, baby. Sweetheart, this is the joys of ownership. We also had our my baby recently passed, and she was her best friend, so she's a little bit discombobulated because she's never been a solo dog before. It's very sad. We're not going to go into that. But she was like, he says to stop that, and I was like, stop what? And who the hell are you talking about? And she's like, there's a man here, and she's like, and he passed, and she's like, and I'm feeling just a lot of love. And I was like, well, that's not for me then. The only men I know that have passed either tried to kill me or resent me. So I don't think that's going to be a thing. And she's like, no, it's definitely a man. And he's definitely feeling a lot of love, almost fatherly. And then she like flinched and she goes, no, not like a father. You're not his daughter. But he loves you like a daughter. The only person I could possibly think of is my Swamiji. But I don't know if he's passed. She's like, I'm seeing white, which his beard was white, and like a robe or something, and a sash, which is his ceremonial robes, which she would have no idea about any of this. She's like, okay, I feel him moving his hand down my arm. He's telling me to hold your hands, so I gave her my hands, and she goes, you're romanticizing this, which was a very specific event, but know that what you felt was real. And she said that the physical pain I was getting was him trying to connect with me and me just having my guard up and not really taking it. And so she gave me, she's like, he's saying to do this. And I have this little meditation bowl. It's gold. And she's like, drink water from it, like just once, just cleanse the water and then drink the water and talk to him. He's telling me to tell you that you can talk to him anytime, that he knows you've been through so much, but he wants to be there for you. You don't have to be alone. And I just started bawling. I was just fucking bawling. It was instant. And but it was beautiful. And so I did. The next day I did my morning meditations, and then I took the bowl, I cleaned it out, obviously, because it's my meditation bowl, it's not a drinking bowl. And then I did the cleansing on it with sage, and I did another little prayer, but to Swamiji, like just saying, I miss you, and I love you, and thank you for being with me. And the weird thing is, and I shit you not, I drank it, and this was 2 days ago, and I have not had that neck pain. I have not had that heart pain. It was amazing. Like, it was seriously amazing. But we were talking about all of those experiences. And then that, of course, was massive. And she was like, girl, you got to make a video. Like, you need to share this kind of stuff because it is so meaningful to me. And if anybody follows me on Twitter, you know, I'm a classic oversharer. For me, my only purpose here in life is to make connections. I want to connect, and not connections professionally, human connection. I want to know if I'm meeting you for the first time and the choice is small talk, robot. Why are all these disruptions? This is why I don't record videos anymore, y'all. But, oh man, I don't even know what I was saying. Oh shit, ADHD brain's kicking in so bad. But we were like wanting to do a video on this because that's my thing. I love connection. And if it had to be a choice between small talk and, oh, how are you doing? Like, tell me what's new. I would rather you tell me your deepest, darkest trauma experience. And I would love to bond with you on a level that affects more than just memory. It affects your soul. I hope I have a positive impact on other people. But maybe not. Maybe I stress everybody out. That's also a very strong possibility because I do overshare a lot. I love to do it, and it's not a, oh, listen to what I'm doing thing. It's a, here's a very vital piece of my spirit. Take care of it. And so why shouldn't my videos be like that too? You know? So this is the point of this video. This might be a terrible video. I don't know. Maybe it'll get absolutely no views and people are like, oh my God, bitch, shut the fuck up. And that's totally okay too. But if you are still here, I appreciate you sticking around because that is the happiest memory I've ever had in my life. And it means a lot to share it with you. You know, it means a lot to be given the opportunity to share it because I also feel like I get to share a little bit of his love with everybody. And it means a lot. So that's the spiel. That's the shtick. I will keep you guys updated on the journey to Shaktiism, although there is a lot of shit about my mom that makes sense now. I did not realize she was a devoted Kali follower and like hardcore about it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, bruh. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. If you feel like you like it, you don't gotta put a ring on it. But if you felt like subscribing, feel free. If not, that's totes cool too. I am not your mama. I will put some other ways to contact me if you want down below. And I hope you just have a really cool day and you drink your water and you kick all the ass. And I will catch you guys next time. Bye.